I'm Katherine Grainger and I'm an Olympic rower. In rowing, generally, most successful people will be tall, long levers, so long arms and legs, and kind of all over strength. It's a very sort of strong, powerful sport. So this girl at university saw me and thought, oh, you could be successful in rowing. And I really wasn't interested. I wanted to do other sports at university. I wanted to do other clubs. But she persuaded me to come down and at least try out. And I made it through the trials. I wasn't particularly great as soon as I got in a boat. But the people that I engaged with then, the people that I met and that I rowed with that first year at university were brilliant, still some of my closest friends now. And I think that got me hooked at that point, and it went from there. I've been really lucky in my rowing career in that I've been able to move into different boat classes along the way. I started my first year, I raced in an 8. I've been a world champion in a pair. I was with Kath Bishop for a few years in a pair. We did the Athens Olympics in a pair. I've been in the quad scull with 4 people in it at the Sydney and the Beijing Olympics. So I've covered most of the boat classes. They're all incredibly challenging, but in very different ways. When you're on your own in a boat, it's down to you. It's down to you work very closely with the team around you. But when you go out to race, you're alone in the boat, and you have to make the decisions, the tactics, how it's going to race, all about yourself. Recently, I've been in the stroke seat of the quad, and I am in the double at the moment. It's often seen as a leadership seat. It's where you set the rhythm of the boat. It's where, when the boat needs to be moved up a gear, you have to drive it from that seat. I take a lot of responsibility when I'm in that seat. A lot of people I've competed with are really strong individual characteristics, and you want to bring that out and bring out their strengths without, you don't want everyone to be dulled down to be one machine. You want to bring out those individual characteristics, but at the same time you don't want them to clash, you don't want them to be a problem. So it's a huge balancing act. Sydney was my first games. It was just the most incredible experience. I think as much as you speak to people beforehand about what Olympic Games is, you don't know until you experience it yourself. Sydney had they had the weather, they had the country's love of the sport. All the venues were sold out. People were celebrating, in the city just having Olympic Games there. I just had no concept of the scale of an Olympic Games and the enthusiasm it brings and the inspiration. I was in the stadium when Cathy Freeman won the 400 metres, when a whole nation, the whole world were, willing her on to do that after she'd lit the Olympic flame at the opening ceremony. And for me, I think everything was new, everything was exciting, everything seemed 10 times brighter and more full of life. And that was kind of like, wow, this is what I want to do. This is amazing. Athens came with the sort of gravitas that the first modern Olympics were in Athens. So I think as an athlete, you go there suddenly aware of the history behind the Olympics, and what an honour it is that you're part of that massive history. The marathon route was from Marathon to Athens. They used the original Olympic Stadium from 1896 for the archery events. The whole thing felt, wow, this is where it all began. Beijing carried with it this they had this feeling of they wanted to prove to the world just how impressive China was on a massive scale. So the buildings were just stunning. The bird's nest and the swimming pool that everyone talked about, and the bubbles and the lights they put on the building, and they just thought of every detail and no expense was spared. So kind of from a show event, Beijing was just spectacular. So I feel every one of the Olympic Games has been so different, but just such brilliant memories from every single one. I've medalled at the 3 Olympics I've been to, and I think the first one probably surprised everyone, including ourselves. I don't think we expected that success, and I think once we had success, there is something absolutely addictive about being successable. However successful you've been, if you keep repeating that level of training, that level of focus, those goals, you won't be able to sustain it. You need to move it on every single year. I've always said to myself, as long as I enjoyed my sport and I felt I could be better, that I would stay in it. If either one of those went, there's not much point in staying in sport for me. I still love it. I still, I just competed recently, and it makes me feel so young. Makes me feel so excited, as if I'm doing it for the first time. I love that buzz. I love it. I love, getting a unit together and being successful. That keeps me going. I still haven't fulfilled all my goals. There's more I want to do. There's more I want to give back. There's more I want to get. And I think as long as you've still got things to achieve, that's going to keep you driving forward. And the obvious goal at the moment is the London 2012 Games. There's no denying it. There's no hiding from it. It's the big ultimate goal for any British athlete right now. Generally in British sport, because we've been so successful for the last 2 or 3 Olympics, everyone's expectations have been raised, and everyone now thinks, yes, we're not just going to make up numbers. We're going to bring back medals, and we know how hard that's going to be, but we're prepared to make those sacrifices and whatever it takes to get there to bring back the right medals.